Hey everyone, welcome to day 2 of the Root Chakra. I'm out sitting in my car close to nature. I really recommend being in nature, but it is a little cold right now, so I'm sitting in my car with my windows cracked so that I can get some of that breeze and inhale some of that natural prana, which is energy, life force energy. And so today we are going to talk about the root chakra as far as what the imbalances look like. So if you have an overactive chakra, root chakra, an underactive one, what a balanced one looks like. When we start to develop our root chakra and just kind of get you in touch with some of the physical ailments that start to manifest as you are walking around with an imbalance in your root chakra. So, just like yesterday, I'll be looking down because, I have tons of notes. Let me see if I could just show it to you real quick. I have like tons of notes. Like, I have so much that, I've written about. But in general, if you look at the root chakra, and if you remember, I was talking about it being the base chakra, that's your foundation. So some of the problems that would arise in the root chakra would be something along the lines of issues with your legs, because think stability, issues with like your bowels, your blood, if you think about the color red. So blood, bone, because that's really the structure, the foundation of the body that we get. Um, so blood, bone, and bowels. Like if you have any issues with those areas, especially if they're like cancers, blood cancer, bowel cancer, bone cancer, it's generally a root chakra issue. A lot of if you have poor health, root chakra issues. Um, what else? So if you have issues with your finances, um, your living situation, um, let me see, lower body pain, like low back issues, arthritis, autoimmune system problems, constipation, eating disorders, that's big, sciatica, issues with the male reproductive system, hemorrhoids. Um, I know there's more, but yeah, there, there's, oh, the big one, addictions. Addictions of like any type, like if you're addicted to drugs or alcohol, that addictive nature really comes from the root chakra. So if you think about, the aspects of the root chakra where you have your stability, your safety, your um, your finances, all those things, and it encompasses those fight or flight emotions. And if you think how addictions a lot of times have to do with a codependent type of a personality. Like there's something that you're not dealing with, so you're using it as a coping mechanism. And if let's say your safety was was an issue for you, so then your your lack of safety or your lack of feel of safety, those types of things um, would create a sort of codependent type of um, feeling, which you're then grasping onto stuff. That's another thing, hoarding. But let's go ahead and talk about how the imbalances are on the scale of what's overactive, what's underactive. But before we talk about overactive, underactive, since this is the very first chakra we're going to talk about, I have a personal belief that chakras, when they're overactive, it just means that they're more open than the other chakras. So I don't technically believe that we need to start to dial things back and close the chakra some. I think of it as, let's say you have one chakra that's like 81 and the rest are like, 40, 30, whatever, might be a little bit more closed, more open. But you shouldn't have to dial back that open chakra to match the rest. You should bring the other ones up to the level of that most open chakra, because remember, the more open the chakra is, the more light and information that is allowed to come into the body, into the mind, into the spirit, so that we start to know more. And, if you think about it, like with relationships or with people in general, you don't want to say, oh, let me meet you down at your level. No, come meet me up at mine, evolve some and then come meet me up at mine and then I'll deal with you. So think of your chakras like that as well. They're open, it's overactive, so then you're like, okay, well then I know I got to do work in the other chakras to bring them up to this level. Because if they're all in the 80s, technically they're all balanced. They're just not in the center. They're balanced at a higher level. And when you're operating at that higher level, that higher frequency, you're allowing more light to come into your body. It's all good. So let's talk about some of the issues that come with an overactive chakra. And I feel like, again, so if you're having these issues with an overactive chakra, you just, as you bring up the other ones, I believe that it'll start to tone out, because it's not one that's just so overly dominant. But, okay, I digress. So, for a root chakra that's not open as much, you will be flighty, definitely flighty, emotionally scattered, kind of all over the place, anxiety, money issues, eating disorder, things like that. When you don't feel really comfortable in your body, if you feel like, sometimes you can have that spacey kind of feel, like you don't feel like you're on this earth or in this body at this point in time. That just means you're not grounded enough. So you need to get out there and ground. Step out on the grass barefoot. Go, you want to be cliche about it, go hug a tree, Just do something like that to get yourself grounded. Or do a breathing exercise, pranayama, some sort of meditation, whatever you feel that helps to ground you, the most at that point in time. Because the more in tune you are with your body, you definitely know when you need to get grounded. If you're feeling very flighty, or you're just feeling too light, like you're just all over the place, then you'll need to do something like that. So when a chakra is too open, if it's overactive, and there's different levels of or I don't want to say different levels, but different categories of when it's overactive. So you can have like a passive overactive chakra, or more like an active overactive chakra. So if your root chakra is too open, then you might have feelings of depression, or dealing with depression. You have a heavy feeling to your spirit. You sleep a lot. You start projects and don't finish them. You're a hoarder. You hoard physical things. It's like you just can't let go. You hoard physical things. You're lazy. You're disorganized. You're stubborn. So you have that inability to change. You might be monotone, very slow, inactive. And let's say if you're overactive, or sorry, if you're in that active, overactive chakra level or category, you think about someone who's more of a workaholic. So if I'm talking about, if we're looking at like finances for instance, because an underactive chakra indicates you know, money problems, all that. But if you're overactive, you could be a workaholic because you're trying to get everything. You're trying to get your peace because you don't want to have to deal with instability in your life, insecurity when it comes to finances, and stuff like that. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, if it's overactive, you can be lazy. And that's that passive active, or that passive overactive, sorry. The passive overactive. You could be lazy because you got to remember the energy of the root chakra is very heavy because it's dense. It's the most dense of all the chakras, and it's slow. Think of something like Eeyore, or like a sloth. Just something that just moves kind of slow, and it's just, so if it's very open and nothing else really is, then you could just be really lazy because you're comfortable. You're in that space where you're just, that's what it is. And that can also include like addictions to food, alcohol. Like I said, all the addictions kind of reside in that space. So let me see. What do I want to say? So some of the or one of the things that can create some of the issues around your root chakra, taking on family's feelings, being too dependent on them. Like, what do you want to do? Oh, another root chakra issue is if you have an inability to make a decision. So if you're asked a question, or if you're doing something on your own and you just can't seem to make a decision, that's an issue in the root chakra. So back to the causes of imbalances in your root chakra. So being that I said the root chakra is really the foundation of your system, you got to think about like a tree, a family tree. So your root chakra might have an issue or an imbalance for a reason that doesn't have anything to do with you specifically in this lifetime. It could have something to do with someone in your familial bloodline. For instance, trauma that might have been experienced. So things that kind of threaten your safety when you're young. Hold on. Let me jump around really quick just to say that when your root chakra is developing, our root chakra starts to develop in the first 7 years of life, and it really starts to develop in the womb. So if you had, let's say, a traumatic birth, those things can bring up root chakra issues. Like if you're pulled out by force through forceps, or there was like a traumatic birth, or if your mother while she was pregnant with you, was abused in any way, shape, form, fashion, sexually, mentally, verbally, physically, you as the fetus feel those emotions, and that can start to create some instabilities within your root chakra before it's fully developed. So that would kind of like a lack of a better term, like kind of retard the growth of the chakra, the opening of the chakra, where it would kind of like stunt the growth in those particular areas. So if you've experienced any trauma in those early developmental years, from birth to 7, then these start to create some issues and imbalances within the chakra. For instance, trauma could be abuse experienced in all forms, physical, mental, emotional, verbal, sexual, or even witnessing the abuse. Even though it didn't directly happen to you, it affected you. So if you saw a parent getting physically abused, or a brother or sister or something, and it was a really, really traumatic experience, that those types of things threaten your safety. So even though it didn't happen directly to you, you didn't feel safe in those situations, and that starts to compromise the safety aspect of your root chakra. And it weakens your root. If you dealt with something like extreme poverty when you were younger, this compromises your stability, affects your stability. Losing a parent early on compromises your stability. So, and you can lose them in different ways. So you can lose them to death, which would be a physical loss, or you could lose them mentally or emotionally to drugs. Like if they're just not there, you don't have them, and that compromises your stability. And it's any form of someone losing something or someone in a traumatic way really compromises that stability aspect of the root chakra, and it weakens the root. And you can also look at it like if your parent or your guardian wasn't there, they're always out, they're always focusing on themselves and others, so they're neglecting you. It compromises your safety and your stability and your right to be safe, loved, cared, and nurtured. So if you were a child who experienced neglect in some form or fashion, it could be extreme neglect, that would really bring on something traumatic. But if you think about an aspect that might not have been an extreme neglect, it might just be like, your parent neglected this or that here and there. Those little spaces and periods and times of neglect can over time create this thought process of that experience with the neglect, and it's something that they come to expect, something that becomes normal. But the feeling that they get from that neglect is it starts to compromise one of the rights of the root chakra, where you think about your right to be, your right to belong. And if you're neglected, you can feel that you don't belong there. Maybe I don't belong in this family because no one cares. Maybe I don't belong. See, that starts to really compromise your state of being, your right to be. And you have the right. We all have the right, especially, as you incarnate into a family, you have a right to be in that family. You have a right to be loved and nurtured and cared for in that family. You have a right to be a part of a tribe, as I talked about yesterday. So if you are someone who experienced neglect, whether it was traumatic or whether or not it's over time, then, you know, traumatic will put you in one mindset. You know, it'll kick in. It might make you scared about certain things, like, oh, I don't want to deal with that, or I don't want to enter in this relationship because of this or that or that. But if it's not traumatic and it's something that's kind of like a learned pattern over time, a little bit of neglect, and they start to normalize that and internalize that feeling of, you know, maybe I don't matter, maybe I'm not supposed to be here, then that's something that's going to have to be healed and addressed as they get older. So for someone who would be dealing with something like that, they would really need to put that as a priority as they get older. Like, really hold on to that right. I have a right to be here. I have a right to be loved. I have a right to belong. Period. And we'll go more into you know, healing aspects of the imbalances in the root chakra tomorrow. But I just want to say that the reason, you know, that we heal the issues, especially at the root, is because we want to have a stronger foundation for our entire chakra system as a whole. But also because, like I said, the more open you are, the more light we let into our bodies, the more information that we can get. And let me see. The biggest thing is that if we don't heal the issues and our chakra remains closed or underactive, what have you, you're going to continue to attract people and situations in your life that match that vibration. So if you want more and you want better for yourself, then you have to work on yourself and heal those aspects and expect better from yourself so that you can attract better for yourself. Because you have the right to. You have the right to. And you can't get so, I don't even want to say it's like complacent, but comfortable in a situation where you're either disrespected or not, your safety, your security is not set, I guess you could say set. But you don't want to get in those situations where you just become comfortable and lazy, and, you know, part of you is like, I want more, but then you don't get more because you don't take the time to heal the issues that might have come from, you know, childhood, because that's really where your root gets, for lack of a better term, damaged. So then let's just say weakened, because damage seems very strong, you know, and that's just where it gets weak. And what we want to do is make it stronger. We want to open it up. We want to build it up. We want to get that foundation set and let it be beautiful. And yeah, I think that's about it for now, because, you know, I've been rambling some. So, you know, if you have any questions, if you have anything else, you can DM me, or, you know, you could just ask right here on the thread, and I'll try my best to answer them right away. But if I don't get to it right away, I will definitely get to it today. And just be out on the lookout for, you know, the activities for working through some of the aspects of the chakra. I'll be posting those later today. Make sure that you did your writing prompt, because, you know, the writing prompts definitely help you kind of work through some of the aspects and the issues that you might be having. So the yoga is one thing, and like I said, that's a way to kind of get the energy physically moving throughout your body. But if you are really trying to heal, you got to do the work. And the work includes the mental aspect, the emotional aspect, the physical aspect, and you have to face that on. You can't just sit there and say, okay, well, I'm going to do yoga and this is good. Or just, I'll write this down and not really put much into it. Because as with everything, you get out of it what you put into it. So with that, I just want to say, stay positive. Really take the time to address anything that is going on within you. Look at some of the imbalances that I spoke about today and see if any of those fit your situation. And if they do, let me know. And, I can give you some more tools to work through it. But until later, peace.